I'm talking to the Tesla owners. Some of you know who you are. These cars don't drive themselves. Megalomaniac, liar, crook, and innovator. These are all things you can say about Elon Musk. But he is on trial right now, and so is this car right here. This is the Tesla Model 3. And yes, for those that don't realize, this is Texas Car Channel, our TTC Cars. We are not in Texas. As you can tell, we are in, well, Angeles Crest. We're in California. And man, we jumped on the opportunity to be Californian and snag us a Model 3. Now, for those that don't know, there is no press fleet for Tesla. So we rented this one on our own, straight down to Avis, out the gate, give it an honest opinion on what it is. And we're gonna hop in and just talk about exterior first. And by the way, I'm Brian, Craig's behind the camera like normal. So, first of all, we have wheels, Craig, and they have wheel covers. I don't know if these will come off or not, but they look really cool underneath. Well, I don't wanna break this because it's a rental car. But anyways, if you look online and Google, I'll put a picture in. These are the Eco wheels, and they're designed to be efficient with wind resistance when rolling. When you pop these off, it's a cool looking wheel under there. That's pretty awesome.
So you get two wheels in one?
You do, yeah. If you wanna be cool, pop this thing off, get a life hack.
Don't have to buy any aftermarket.
Exactly, right here. You see that? That is not a fender vent, Craig. There's no gas engine to cool. That's a camera for lane turning. They do this almost as well as Honda does. Actually, probably about the same as Honda does. Works very well for lane keep stuff.
It's also for Sentry mode.
What's Sentry mode?
Protection, guard, cameras.
Oh, that's right, that's right. There's also another one right here. If you look in the B pillar, this is actually made of glass. There's a camera right behind it. So when you're not even near it and someone's like, oh, that guy's a jerk, he's got a Tesla, and they try to key your car, now you know who did it. That's what that's for. Coming to the top, you have a glass roof, and it looks pretty good. It actually tints pretty well, and I love how it comes all the way down to the back of the trunk lid. I'm skipping over some stuff on the side, but I gotta get to it now. This hinge is pretty neat. I kind of like how the trunk lid contours up to the C-pillar. It looks pretty cool. This is the actual lift motor on this side. It has a little scrunchy, like you'd find an old 80s shock absorber. Not sure where that came from, but it seems to work just fine. Trunk is big enough. And you actually have a footwell underneath here for auxiliary charging. There's an emergency charger down here in case you can't get to a supercharger. So you do have options with that. Much like any crossover today, it is power closed, but the audible sound sounds like an arcade game. This is the dual motor, which explains some of its driving dynamics, which we'll get into in just a minute. And other than that, this is what, a 15 or a 16 or a 17, 18? I don't know what year this is. It's a Tesla. They all look the freaking same. That's the downside. The good side is it's not offensive to anyone. It doesn't look like think of when this car or the first Tesla came out, green cars looked goofy. This does not. It looks conservative and it looks clean. The lines are simple and it just works for a lot of people. It's not offending anyone. That's a major plus in my opinion. A negative I came across is the door handle. You got to push in here and then you pull here. It almost feels like, I'm sure I'm doing it wrong. Oh, there you go. That's the trick right there. Again, a lot of this car is learning curve, and Craig will talk about that more on the interior in a minute because we found the infotainment to be a little bit like that too. But let's check out the frunk. Is there a frunk?
You have to do it from the inside.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, you gotta open. Haha, there it is. Okay, so if you need to open your frunk for any reason, just be sure to get inside the car, turn the screen on, close the update screen. It's trying to update the software for some reason right now, and then you can find the button to open it. But there is actually storage here, unlike some cars. We've had some EVs on the show that are just flat covers. So a little bit of kudos there. You've got your tow hook too, but you can actually put some stuff in here. So it's not a total waste. And this is the dual motor. With that all covered, interior time.
Oh, hello. I'm enjoying, this is California Craig. I'm enjoying the interior of the Tesla Model 3. I've been like this for a few years now. You know, there's iPhone 14, 12, 11. You can't tell the difference. Same thing here. Here's what I want to tell you about the back seat of the Model 3 though. Brian, zoom in on here. Do you see this? That is a hard physical vent. You can actually adjust whenever, wherever you want it to go without any setting or menu or touchscreen. You just put it where you want. Very old school. I'm sitting behind myself, a little tight. This class of car, you don't have a whole lot of room anyways. I'd say it's on par. It's not great or bad. You do have good headroom though. Panoramic roof is great, and you have a little bit of a stadium seating effect, which is nice, so you can see really good out of this car, even in the back, and that's pretty cool, because it doesn't have necessarily the tallest roof line. It still looks sleek. With that, let's go to the cockpit, which is the only thing better than the rear. First, you start it with your key. Not key, this is a card. It's too dorky to have a key or just a fob. You have a card. You put it back here, like this bad boy, touch the brake. I get back to my little settings. Everything's where I need it to be. One of the coolest things, I'm gonna have to admit, is I don't normally like this, but there's no center speedo, which means I can put this steering wheel all the way back, up, down, wherever. I don't have to worry about it because I can still, there's nothing to block. So I can still see the speedometer over here. That's really nice. Here's what I don't like. If I want to move the steering wheel, I have to hit a button over here, and I already can't remember. There's the car, it's controls, it's steering. Okay, now I can use the thing on the steering wheel and actually move it up and down and back and forward. That works. And then of course I can save it. So there's that. Same thing with the mirrors. Just the mirrors, there's not a button. I have to go in here. Then wrong button. Right there, I hit this button and then left or right, and then I can adjust it and do the same thing. And that's kind of a little preview of everything going on in this Tesla. It's really smart and really neat that they've made it a very clean design and modern looking design. The bad news is you have to do everything through here, whether it's autopilot, whether it's radio stations.
Did you say autopilot?
Well, it doesn't really have autopilot, and we'll get to that on the drive. But like I mentioned, the vents in the back. To adjust the vents on here, I have to go to the HVAC button, click on it, and then I can actually, it's cool. I can put it wherever I want, up, down, low, left, right, to the side. And I can kind of get it right where I want, and that part's nice. But I have to do that every time, and then that's fine. But maybe I'm trying to nav, and I've got the nav screen on. I do the HVAC, and then it blocks the nav screen. So then I can't see where I'm needing to turn. It's just a bit cumbersome. However, let's continue moving on down. You get 2 wireless charging stations. Come on, people. Let's just do that in every car. You get a nice bin down here to put your cool sunglasses. So that's cool. Thank you, Zenny. And then finally, we don't get the crotch chillers, but we do get the crotch warmers. And so, you know, that's cool. We're happy about that. Thank you, Tesla. Oh, here's the last but not least.
Thank you, Avis.
Thank you, Avis. Last but not least, probably the biggest strike against Tesla, because a lot of Apple people like Teslas. No CarPlay. Loses a hipster point. With that, let's take it on the road. All right, Brian, we're in beautiful California, carving up the canyons on this beautiful canyon road. We're not going to start with the 0 to 60 time because, well, we've got a lot of twisties, which is what we're looking for.
Exactly.
We'll get a 0 to 60 time free at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that.
Yep.
We'll see what we end up with.
Yeah, we got the race box right here on the windshield ready to go, and we've got telemetry down here. But again, in Texas, we have flat, straight stuff, and we jump in the 0 to 60. We don't have it here. Let's carve some corners.
Here's the first thing I'm going to tell you about carving corners in a Tesla.
Okay, let's hear it.
The good news is, well, the bad news is this road, it can be dangerous. Over the years, people have driven off the ledges and it hasn't been pretty. You got to be a good driver to know what you're doing, so be careful out here. The good news is, in Teslas, as we know from recent news, you can drive it off a cliff on purpose and still survive.
That is the good news. Safety rating is high. That's true.
Yes. With that, Brian, how does it drive?
Numb. Very, very numb.
Yeah.
Look, you said it best a few minutes ago off camera. It pushes, man.
Yeah. What do you mean by numb and pushes? What do you mean? What do you mean by
so by push, I mean it's going to understeer before oversteers. Now, a lot of cars do that.
Most cars, that's the default setup for most cars.
That's how they are from the factory.
It's safer for the novice driver,
I guess. Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah, in theory. I don't really agree with that, but that is the consensus amongst lawyers for sure. But what I'll say is that it wants to push, and so as a driver, and being an EV and not a manual transmission and actually the weight bias is pretty flat and balanced.
Yeah, it feels like it.
But I can't do like a lift-off oversteer. I can't do a weight transfer. There's not a lot of things I can do to control it. It's just push. You go, oh, well, let it out.
You just let off.
You just let off, and hopefully it catches.
It doesn't really want you to play in a turn.
It's not playful. No, that's true. And the steering is incredibly numb.
Very.
In fact, it's one of the most numb things we've had recently. Actually, we had a Camry about a month ago, which should be a boring car, and it was shockingly fun to drive in terms of steering and suspension tuning. That's the second part, is suspension tuning.
Yes.
This rear end needs a stiffer sway bar to be a driver's car. Let me clarify. To be a driver's car.
And we've noticed that to be a problem in other EVs as well.
Yes, but yeah, that has been a trend amongst others for sure. Because it's EV, NVH is really low, except for some wind noise. We've had a little bit of wind noise in here. And part of that's because there's no engine noise to drown it out.
Right.
But yeah, like it leans okay. It doesn't ride horribly. It doesn't ride great either. Kind of rides in the middle. And it doesn't handle brilliantly.
Right.
For a canyon twisty road.
Sure. Now, I also want to bring up, you mentioned a Camry earlier, because that's an interesting thing to bring up, because that's what a lot of people used to be buying. They used to buy the generic boring sedan, quote unquote. I'm not saying the Camry's boring.
Right.
Watch our other review for that. But so a lot of people are going from that they used to buy over the years to getting their first EV, and whether it's a Tesla or anything else.
Sure.
And they've never had any type of sports car or anything that was fast. And they get these EVs and they have that straight line punch, just like this does, but then that's all they have. There's really nothing else after that.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's, again, kind of a one-trick pony, just like all the other EVs.
It is.
Running through the same thing.
It's
here.
a straight line thing. And it's pretty good at that. And again, we'll get to the 0-60 in a second. I just realized something while you were talking. The braking's very numb too.
Yeah.
The feedback, it kind of feels like a brake to the pedal. There's not a lot of linearity to it. So again, that's not the goal of this car. This is not a Miata. But those that say this is a competitor to a 3 Series, that's who I'm talking to.
Right.
This is not your sports sedan replacement. I don't think it is. It's a different thing completely. Now, let's talk about some of the normal stuff.
Okay.
You brought up interior things. It is cool. The steering wheel is exactly where I want it to be.
Yes.
Because I don't have to see a gauge underneath that I can't blind or
you
block.
You
with
get
the
a
top
great
wheel.
driving position in this.
Right. Which also negates the point of the yoke on the other Teslas, because there's nothing to block, so I don't quite understand that.
Right.
But I don't have great readouts. It looks like there's an iPad here with a mile per hour.
Right.
Which I guess in an EV you don't need anything else.
Sure.
Sure, there's battery temp gauges in here somewhere that need to be seen.
That'd be nice.
It just seems kind of odd. And like you said earlier, the nav, if you're in LA and you live in Texas and you're dependent on nav for most of the time, you touch anything else, the nav's gone.
Right.
And so that's a little problematic.
Even if you're changing the radio station.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. The other thing is autopilot. A lot of people talk about Teslas and autopilot. They can drive themselves. Elon's in trouble for saying how well they can do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues going on there. So we've tried the autopilot beta in this, or whatever they call it, and we've run into some issues, Brian. They gave you clear instructions to keep your hands on the wheel.
Yep.
And you didn't do that. So what did it do?
It put me in steering wheel jail.
Yeah. You got put in steering wheel jail, which is funny because Elon doesn't like people in Twitter jail, but maybe he'll bust you out of steering wheel jail.
Yeah.
So anyways.
I'm talking to the Tesla owners. Some of you know who you are. These cars don't drive themselves.
No.
And if this is one example, the Model 3, and this has beta turned on in it, beta autopilot turned on, in 2023, it is not a self-driving car.
No.
And by the way, none of them are, but this is, in my mind, no different than a Ford F-150 with lane centering and lane keep, or whatever the
Smart
right
Cruise.
Smart Cruise.
Yep.
It's the same freaking thing. So we need to get that out of our heads, and that's not exclusive to Tesla, but it's really prominent in that group. It's not a self-driving car.
The point is, you can get trucks that do the same thing as this as far as auto driving go.
Right.
And so it's really nothing special. They haven't done much with the exterior or the interior. Is that good or bad? Can they keep getting away with that? How long can they keep doing that?
I don't know.
What's your feel on that?
As the enthusiast and person that's like, we grew up, no, we didn't grow up, our dads grew up in the era of every year there's a different fin on the cars to keep selling you new cars. I think Tesla might be in trouble with this, because if you own a Tesla and the battery isn't dead, why replace it? It can be 10 years old and looks exactly like a new one.
Which is good and bad.
Good and bad for the owners, bad for the company. And that might be why they've just dumped the price 10% across the board on these things. I don't know. But the other side of it is, back to your iPhone joke, the iPhone fundamentally has hardly changed since its conception.
Right.
And so minor tweaks go a long way. The only thing is that I can't tell that there's really any tweaks at all since the Tesla Model S came out, aside from the Plaid having different wheels and stuff. So I don't know. I think the Tesla faithful will just put up with just about anything, and so it'll just work.
Kind of like the old Toyota faithful.
Kind of like that, yeah.
So let's end on this though. This is an EV. That's what it's up against. It's the cutting edge EV. They kind of started the whole EV trend, and everyone's trying to catch up. Have others caught up? Is this a good EV? What's the verdict?
It feels to me like they've been doing this for 10 years, and it's because they have.
Yeah.
I do think if you're interested in an EV, you probably need to consider Tesla.
You definitely, I completely agree.
Okay, and look, I love to hate on Tesla off camera. I get annoyed by Elon and all of his bull crap and his just flat out lies about certain things. This is not a bad EV.
I'll say this.
This is a good car.
Here's my verdict. Teslas aren't as special as Tesla faithful make them out to be.
Right.
But it's a really good EV, and you should definitely consider it if you're wanting an EV.
Right.
It charges easy. It's got good range.
Okay.
It's quiet. It's comfortable. What else do you want in an EV?
We got to hit on charging too, because we just ran into this. We just had to stop somewhere to get lunch while this charged, and we found all the other faithfuls plugged in the back of their neck, napping in their car or working from home from their car, charging or whatever. And it just, a couple things rang clear. This is probably the easiest and best charging network out there. You know, in terms of like Electrify America and all that stuff, this is way better. Yes, there's a cyclist. We see it. Thank you. It's way better, way easier to use, but you can only use that. And I'm sure there's hacks out there, but this plug is not what Electrify America has. And someone will correct me if I'm wrong on that. I hope we're wrong on that, or that's been resolved. It's just you got to stick to that grid. You got to stick to the Tesla mantra. But it does work, and it is still annoying. We're coming to shoot out here. We're budgeting mileage. We got to get back to certain places in LA today. And we got to go, do we have enough mileage to get there and back?
Right.
Because we can't just go to that Sitco in the corner and top it off.
Right.
That's not happening. So that's just an EV.
0 to 60 times. Let's do it.
All right, guys. We couldn't find a flat spot on the mountain, so we figured the best place to go was come visit Hoonigan and do our 0 to 60 in Compton.
In honor of Ken Block.
Rest in peace.
Hit it.
Whoa. Dual motor doing something?
Okay.
0 to 60 in 4.29.
Wow. Okay.
And that was effortless.
And that's what we're talking about. People, the sensation people love EVs. There you go.
That's what it is. Now, we do know that, well, we don't know, but we suspect that over 100 miles an hour, it's probably going to slow down like a lot of EVs do. But that doesn't matter around town. When you're rolling around, doing EV punches, this got the beans.
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, thank you for watching TTC Cars from California. Hope you enjoyed this review. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.